move on to Shooter Breeze topic number 3. Shooter Breeze topic number 3 tonight says celebrating 2024 years of white supremacy is stupid and ludicrous for black people. What do y'all think? Well, this came with a link, so save your thoughts until we've watched it, and then we will discuss.
My name is Immensity West. If you're watching this channel for the first time, you are highly welcome. This is a place for separating facts from the fiction, the science from the superstitions, and the concepts from the misconceptions about African spirituality. Today, some people are saying that it is the first of 2024, the new year. And so many people, they are celebrating around the world that they have seen another year, that this is a new year, 2024, 1st January. And I want us to talk about today, what are we actually celebrating? Is this actually a new year? Because some of our people, we are not really understanding what is going on. Some people don't think well, or they lack common sense. When we say 2024, what does this mean? Some people trying to say that the world is just 2,000 years old. If they are saying this, then this is not true. Okay, what are we actually celebrating? Why is the world 2024 years old? Today, I want to prove that this very date is very wrong, and it's a very big lie. In fact, it's a lie from the pit of the Caucasian hell, and it is something that Caucasians have been able to use to hoodwink the whole world and to put over the eyes of many people, especially African people, to believe that the world is actually 2,000 years old, and this is a very big lie. And today I want to prove this. When we say we are celebrating a new year, Happy New Year, people are celebrating, blasting fireworks all over the world. You watch CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, and all their channel. You will think that it is a general thing, that is what they are saying is a true thing. But the scientists, real people that actually deal with facts and figures, will tell you that the world is over 4 billion, if not 5 billion years old. In fact, the earth is so old, nobody knows the real age of this earth, but we know that it's very, very old. And it's more than 5 billion years old. So if this earth is 5 billion years old, according to real pragmatic science, hard facts, why are we celebrating 2024 years as the age of the earth? Or what does this mean actually? Real people that have real knowledge will tell you that the world here is over 4 billion years with a lot of scientific evidence and facts. But yet you see some people celebrating 2024 years. Of who? Of what? What are we actually celebrating? And where is this coming from? If you find out that we trace this calendar of these 2024 years, that these people are putting on ink and paper and everywhere that the world is 2024 years, you find out that this originated from Europe, from the Caucasian race once again, the race of liars, the evil cancer people. We trace this originally to the Roman Empire. This origin of this 2024 years that you are celebrating today is not an African age, okay? We have our own in Africa. We have our own calendar. This is not our calendar of how old the earth is, okay? Chinese people have their own calendar, which is more authentic than this Caucasian calendar. Even Thailand have their own. Japanese have their own. Every indigenous people have their own calendar. What we're using now is Christian calendar, the Georgian calendar. The people that have made the image of a white man God for the whole world. The people that is destroying the world. The people that is causing all the problem in the world, trying to enslave and brainwash mankind. This is a calendar that they are using. And when you follow this calendar, it brings a lot of imbalance to your life. It brings a lot of ignorance, a lot of backwardness to your life, because you cannot live in harmony with the earth. So this calendar is a very poisonous thing that they have been able to infiltrate into our culture and our psychic. So this is why I want to analyze this calendar. The origin of this 2024 Georgian calendar can be traced to the origin of the Roman Empire, to a very particular man. We know when he started. The name of this man is Octavian Augustus. That is the name of this man that started this whole thing. He was a pure Caucasian. This is the first Caucasian man that ever sat on an African throne, of the throne of ancient Kemet. He sat on this throne after he defeated the so-called mulatto queen Cleopatra. Cleopatra was half Greek, half African. Okay, this is during the reign of the Ptolemies, during the when ancient Kemet was under the rulership of this this Greek dynasty. This is when ancient Kemet has fallen into the hands of Greek invaders. Then we now have the Ptolemaic, the last dynasty to rule before the Caucasians step in, and then they were later taken over from them by the Arabs, which are still there today. So the first Caucasian man that sat on the Kemetic throne, his name was Octavian Augustus. Okay, he did this on the year 26 BC, when he took over, when he defeated Cleopatra. And he also tried to run into Kush, the Kushite of modern Sudan. He tried to take over Kush, but he was not able to succeed. He was beaten by the queen that time, the Queen Amenerias. He could not defeat her. She beat him, and he ran back into Rome. Then he founded the Roman Empire in 27 BCE. That was the day Roman Empire started their reign in Europe, 27 BC, and it was started by this. And this is where the man started his counting of their own calendar. He changed many things, and he changed the year of the original year that the world knew. He changed it to their own Roman calendar, and this is what the world have been using since then. So what you are celebrating is the beginning of the reign of the Roman Empire since the year 2026 BCE. Okay, you are celebrating the beginning of the reign of white supremacy. This is what we are celebrating. When you say 1st January 2024, you are celebrating the reign of white supremacy for the last 2,000 years. You are not celebrating the birth of the earth. Okay, you are celebrating white supremacy. We have our own African calendar. Our Kemetic calendar started from the day Pharaoh Nemes unified the upper and lower cities of ancient Kemet. When he unified the north and the southern Kemet, Kush and Kemet together. That was when we start our own calendar, and this is about 6,263 BC. Okay, so our year this year is going to be 6,264 before Caucasians. Okay, and it will start in the summer later in this year, not this 1st January. Okay, so our own calendar started from that very point when Pharaoh Nemes unified northern and southern Kemet, Kush and Kemet together, and unified the supreme deities of Ra and Amen to become Amen-Ra. That is when our official calendar started. Okay, so our own calendar is older than their calendar by at least more than 4,000 years, give or take. So this 2024 is not African calendar. Okay, we must not be celebrating this nonsense with them. What you are celebrating is the reign of white supremacy over you. The Roman Empire, which is still in force under the shadow of the Catholic Church. Like I've said in my previous videos, the Roman Empire is still here today. They have not faded away. They have morphosized into the Catholic Church. The Pope is still the most powerful person on the earth today. All countries, all the heads of all the countries, they still answer to the Pope. America answers to the Pope. Even the so-called Saudi Arabia, they answer to the Pope. Okay? So these people, they are still here. They have not changed. They are only pretending, hiding in plain sight. They are still doing their evil, still perpetrating evil, still stealing, still committing all sort of bestiality, evil, child molestation, all sort of. They're still doing every evil thing they have been doing, stealing natural resources, creating wars, lying, cheating, and stealing. They are still doing all their evils. They have not changed their spot. Okay, they are still here with me and you. So when you're celebrating this thing, you are actually celebrating white supremacy. Okay, this is the truth. You are still celebrating your enslavement to the lies and to the antics of these evil people. Okay, so the year is not 2024. The earth is not 2024 years old, and this calendar is not our calendar. It's the calendar of the beginning of when the white man started to reign on this planet. That is just the beginning. So this is their own thing. They are celebrating their reign upon this planet, which will soon end very, very quickly, because they have nothing good to offer the planet except destruction, lying, cheating, and stealing. They have nothing to offer. Their nature is the anti-nature. They have negative spirits, unclean spirits, foul spirits. This is what they represent: evil, destruction, negativity. And this is what they are still promoting today. So as a black person that have consciousness, you should know this, that these people, you and them are not the same thing. We should not be celebrating their culture, promoting their values over our own. We must stand by our own, okay? We should not let them be deceiving us or hoodwinking us, allowing it to spend unnecessary money to support their nonsense, okay? We have our own culture. If you want to celebrate, you celebrate your solar cycle, the rotation of the earth around the sun, 365 days. We already celebrated that. KWAZ, we celebrated to Amen Ra. Okay, you see me celebrating that. I offered my ram as usual. I did my rites. But this is not my new year. My new year does not start today, 1st of January. If you want to talk about new year, we'll be talking about them from spring, beginning of spring, going into summer. That is where you say, yes, this is when a new cycle has started for the earth, bringing forth fresh fruits, bringing things, living in harmony with the cycle, original organic cycle of the earth. Not this one that say that winter is still going on. You're saying it is 1st of January, it's New Year. It is total BS. It does not rhyme with the original rotation, original astrological principles of the earth. It is imbalance. So when you shook yourself into this kind of imbalance, you are confusing yourself because you are not living in harmony with the circles of the earth. And this will naturally throw you off guard. You cannot be able to manifest things when it's time for manifestation. When you begin to manifest things now, it's not in line with the vibrational frequency of the earth. It will not work. You have to wait until everything will be in alignment. That is when you know the right time to plant, the right time to harvest, the right time to turn your things, the right time to start things you're supposed to start. This is why you need to know about astrology. Very, very important. Okay. So January 1st is not a New Year day. For me, it is just another day. We're still having winter. The winter need to run out, then the new cycle will start with spring. This is the time of planting. Okay, the time of tilling the soil.
Okay, I gave it its run. Again, let's try to keep the attachments, the video attachments. Let's try to keep it down to maybe like 10 minutes. Somewhere around there. 7 to 10 minutes is fine. Let me address something. Let me address Mr. Icon Fire here. Let me say this to Icon Fire, to this comment he made. You're welcome. You ain't got to come back around me. You see, I'm a kind of a man. I understand a part of my manhood, a part of manhood is to understand when another man running his ship, you let him run his fucking ship. You understand? You don't stand no man up questioning him as to why he doing this, and that's some whole shit again. That's what these black folks be doing out here when the cops have them in the head. Like, why are you doing me? No, stand up and fight. Push back. Do something. Don't come here bitching. Right? This is how I do it. I don't like to hear one mic talk where everyone talking over each other. And it's rude to just jump into a conversation. So you ain't got to come back. That's fine. You can unsubscribe too. That's even better. I ain't really checking. You could carry your ass as far as I'm concerned. I've seen what you've done on other panels too, by the way. You almost caused that brother Pan African Strikes Back to get his channel struck down. I've seen this shit before. You understand? So you ain't coming here and do that foolishness. As a matter of fact, ironically enough, a couple of months ago, there was a new listener who was coming around the live streams and dropping comments and stuff, like real good participation, the kind of shit I like to have around here. And because of Icon Fire one evening, the last time he came on the panel, that dude, that dude pissed me off too. And I realized today Buana and them responded to that dude too, so they know what I'm talking about, right? Because I like their comment today, so they must know what I'm talking about. Like, dude, I see what you do. I'm about discipline, Dred. If you a man and you don't have no discipline about you, you can stay the fuck away from me. And let me not have to repeat this to no one else out here too. That running on talk, y'all could keep that shit to yourself. I don't run on talk.
I want to speak to that too, Coco. I want to speak to that. Um, we talk all the time about having businesses and respecting businesses and doing black business. This is a part of it because we will go into another man shop and we will show him deference and respect. You know why? Because he ain't come from our community, but we feel like we could be as irreverent as we want to be because the person who business you entering or who podcast you entering or who wear whatever who governing over it, we could be as irreverent as we want to be. We don't have to show no manners, no discipline. We don't even have to wipe off our feet. Respect the man's right to have his own channel and create his own rules. Because if you had a home, you would not want me to come in your home telling you how you need to govern yourself in your own house. This is the house that Coco created. Let's respect the man's right to govern his rules the way he wish and run his rules the way he wishes to. You can't go into another man's house and tell him how he should run and govern his house. That is just ridiculous beyond reason. So I'll just leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, appreciate that, boy. So yeah, let's not me and any one of y'all again have to have that conversation. All right. As far as this conversation here right now, this topic, my boy, our African brother, he took the long way to get through this point, but it's something that we have to understand about ourselves too. Sometimes we might be a little bit too, too verbose. We might be a little too loud sometimes, etc., etc. We gotta have some patience for ourselves. So we got to give the brother a chance. Maybe he just learned this stuff and he's trying to teach someone else who's uninitiated to this information. But one thing I'll say before I throw it to my panelists, one thing I've wanted to ask this type of question on the panel before, and I didn't quite know how to word it, and I think I see an opportunity with this prompt. When we envision the future and envision a future where we're powerful, where we have our own, where we have our own nation states, where we have our own continent again, right? I'm curious, what does that look like to say that we're getting rid of everything that that's been put on our people for however long it's been at that point? Like, how does that look? Do we say that thing walking over there with 4 legs and a tail? Do we say fuck that? We ain't calling that a cat no more. We calling it this shit over here. Like, what does that look like? I'm curious. So you guys on the panel, if you understand what I'm saying, you guys can kind of speak to that too. In addition to this time thing that the guy in the video is talking about. But when we really take over, what does that look like? Do we completely tear the shit down and build it back up again for our own people? Let's start with Black Steel this time. Black Steel, what's it?
So I don't know if we can just rebuild everything from scratch, right? Because the world is so interconnected now. This world is not. It's not even. I would say even historically, Africa was never isolated. Africa still had interaction with the rest of the world outside the continent. So this idea we just got to eliminate everything that was that we learn from the European or the Arab or the the Chinese or whatever, and just go back to just completely isolated. I don't know if that even really exists. I think it's more of like a pipe dream, if you ask me. Um, as far as the video, I mean, I understand what he was saying about. I think it all goes back to how the European, how the West, how they structure time itself. How we look at the world, how we interact with reality through their lens. So I understand the point he was making. It did say, like you said, he did take a long time to land the plane. He flew around the airport a couple times, but he did get it there. So big up to him. But overall, I would just say, how does that? How do we gonna restructure the world? I don't know. I don't. I think it's almost absurd to think that we're gonna just completely erase everything and just go back to a perfect world without African interaction with the rest of the world. I don't think that's really possible. I don't think we should even really strive for that. I think we should take what works for us and our culture and move forward. Like Sankofa. Go back and get it. Give us stuff we need. Move forward. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that. Black Steel. Only would say you.
I was just looking at Arthur Joe's comment about the calendar. The trouble is I don't know how to what are significant dates, to be honest. I'll say this for my third book, right? Book of Power. If you guys didn't know, I'm an author, right? Hey, so the Book of Power. I actually do have a calendar. Because I actually prefer I think when I was younger, I used to listen to radios. And I know who did it, but anyway, but there was this radio guy. This guy was on the radio, and he was bent on introducing a different calendar because he saw that I think mathematically I think it's 13 months for 28 days each, and then you would just have 5 days left over, if you were to do a calendar like that. And it's just a better lunar oriented mapping, that kind of thing. So I mean, I think that's just one of those ideas as far as we're concerned about what would it be like to readjust everything. The reality is this, that the way power is going to look one of two ways. At the baseline, it is you taking over your economy. Okay, at the baseline, it is you taking over your economy. On the other line, it is what you're going to do with that economy. And this is what I tell people. It's unless you are actively on the continent, right, or actively engaged with the people actively on the continent, you're not going to be a part of the solution. You know what I mean? And I'm not using that in the sense of that classic adage, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem, or something like that. That's not true. But what I'm saying is that whatever Ibrahim Traore wants of Burkina Faso, as long as he survives and he stays in power, that's what's going to happen for Burkina Faso, right? Even the name Burkina Faso, that's the name that's given to it by Thomas Sankara. And the anthem that you were playing the other day, that's the anthem that was designed by Thomas Sankara. Because he was a music composer. So the what it will look like for an African people is really what the people who decide to get into power, that's what it will look like. And I think who said it best? Father of Black history, Carter Woodson, right? Carter G. Woodson, right? Carter G. Woodson said, "Look, if you," I think, matter of fact, Harsh Reality said the same thing, right? But if you were a loser before the revolution, you're going to be a loser after the revolution. If you are not in the critical positions before the revolution, you're not going to be in critical positions after the revolution, because the reality is that the revolutionaries put themselves into the critical positions. They take over the critical positions and they put themselves in the critical positions. And it really depends on what the revolutionaries believe. That's why you want to get into the minds and heads of the people, of the beliefs of people. Because, like, let's say it this way: if the Christians, if the revolutionaries are Christian, then chances are you're going to have a Christian state afterward. Why? Because that's what they're going to set up. You know. I'll try to record it all the time. Maybe. But anyway, I'm saying that to say, oh yeah, sorry, but as far as the video is concerned, about the guy took a while to land the plane, man. This boy is circling. But yeah, 2024. Everybody and their mother should know that. It used to be said, 2020, like it wasn't 2024, but it used to be like 2024 after the birth of our Lord type shit. You know what I mean? Like, everybody kind of knows that it's a reference to Jesus's birth. Now, some people are a little bit more, esoterically informed, and so they'll say, well, actually, it was 3 years, like Jesus was 3 at that time or some shit, But like it's clearly a reference to Jesus. It's clearly a reference. It's clearly set up by the Roman Empire, and we're clearly in that Western world. We can easily create our own calendars, and in fact, I think the one of the revolutionary groups that everybody respects was the well, you don't really respect it, but the French Revolution. And the French revolutionaries, they created their own calendar, but then they lost the revolution, right? And everything kind of got set back, especially I think with Napoleon, I suppose, right? But that's the whole gist of it, really. That's the whole gist of it. So I'll just say again for Arthur, because I know how to program. What Arthur is talking about in regards to programming, like we could do that, like make an app. But as far as what was the significance of January 6th, I don't know, because like at some point we're gonna start saying it's somebody's birthday, and like who that person's birthday is might not really be that internationally significant. You know what I mean? It'd be like, we'd be like, oh, it's that saxophonist is, backup singer's birthday. You know what I mean? Like, or this guy performed with James Brown on So it's like a lot of these dates are not like, there's not that many significant variants. So that's pretty much. I don't know what else I could say. Oh yeah, as far as what's going to happen, it depends on what the revolutionaries want to happen. What Ibrahim Traore wants to happen in Burkina Faso is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? And like what I want in Burkina Faso, unless I'm going out there supporting and really, being a significant, person in Burkina Faso, is probably not going to happen. I mean, obviously I could contact this guy and, whatever, and I wouldn't mind, but again, it really comes back to who's putting, who has boots on the ground and and like literal boots, because they're in combat boots, right? Who has combat boots in the ground and who's, who has the ear of the people with the combat boots. And that's what it comes down to. That's it. Thanks.
I appreciate that. I would like, when I dream of that future, I would like to think that we'll just get back to our own style of nomenclature and what have you. We'll just get rid of that shit that we've been dealing with them forever. That's my take on it. With that said, let me hear from who was that? It was Oni. Let's welcome in Real Black Gentleman. How are you this week?
I'm good. How about you, Koku?
Good. Did you catch this prompt?
Yeah. I also caught the question that you had asked, like, what would it look like? Like, my response to that would be, well, for starters, like, we have to realize that even let's say 150 years ago, there were Black people, you know what I'm saying, on the homeland who were doing their own thing in their own time. You know what I'm saying? Colonialism was a very uneven process. Let's always keep in mind that there's always survivors and always like people with strong fortitude who resisted, every like frontal assault on, like, you know what I'm saying, the culture. They may have been subsumed during the post Berlin conference phase, but even then, you know, you always have a couple people. So the idea that, you know what I'm saying, that our people haven't had our own sense of time is, I think we have to re-examine that. We have people, our people have calendars, our people celebrate days. They know what happens in the year. I mean, when we're talking about, like, what, I don't think that personally that there will be one calendar. Well, there could be a formalized calendar, which I think will be a good thing, but even within smaller, more regional units, people will celebrate their own holidays and what the people themselves, through their own memories and their own traditions, will have. Not every African people will celebrate everything on the same day. I just don't think that, you know what I'm saying, that doesn't, you know, some people may have their own holidays on one part in let's say we call the third month, let's say, and someone else might have more holidays in the seventh month, but, you know, there are commonalities, and those commonalities can be, you know, sifted out, and you could, you know what I'm saying, part of it has to do with having a calendar recognize it's going to be the first day of the rest of, you know what I'm saying, our destiny, kind of a deal. So, like, it wouldn't matter, like, if we try to sync up the calendar with this Roman calendar, that doesn't matter. It's just like, yo, this is going to be day one, and we know what we do on these days, but this day is the first day of the year. It doesn't matter that it was April 26th where we decide. I mean, if them Arabs can make up a whole calendar, you know what I'm saying, black people can. Calendar science ain't nothing. It's not that hard. It just takes a matter of I mean, for example, like the Igbos had like a 4-day week with the you know what I'm saying, different people have different lengths of week in their month. I mean, these are things that are regional. I've said it before, like, you know, not everyone is necessarily on the same type of time, so to speak, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying, for black people. Although, once again, I do think that there should be a greater African sense of time, as it were, and I think that would be a good way of reflecting and rebuffing colonial, you know what I'm saying, colonial powers. I mean, if Africans do have a sense of time from one end to the other, like, they know what time it is relative to everyone else going on, at least black people can say, you know what I'm saying, we can say, okay, this is you know what I'm saying, we know what time it is, but we don't have to, how would I say it? We don't have to, like, superimpose our calendar onto theirs. Now the question about what would it look like for what would Africa look like? Do we have to reverse everything? And once again, like, a lot of what the West has is bootleg of us. So when we take back the characteristics of these things, you don't want to necessarily throw it all out. Sometimes you just have to revert things and just transform things back to that which would be useful for our cultures. It's like you know, I can a lot of things that we might think for granted would be, oh, these white folks made it. Once again, if you dig up in history, it's like steel and iron. You know what I'm saying? Iron and steel was first came out of Africa. I mean, that's basically, there's hard archaeology that proves that African people were blacksmithing and doing metallurgy in iron well before everyone else in the world. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, that explains, you know, the kind of tools that, you know, it might have taken to make megalithic structures. What is it? I mean, again, like, because it's not so long ago, like I said, like, you know, let's say 1885, we don't have to turn this into 2,000 years of you know what I'm saying, we don't have to play that, because, like, once again, let's say 1885, so it's only what, 40 odd years. Okay, in another 140 years from now, you know, it could look real street and real hood for black people and real prosperous. And we wouldn't know nothing different. Everyone would walk around with you know, with our textile industry popping, you know what I'm saying? Just the whole, everything with our threads and our own designs, you know what I'm saying? A lot of that is always underneath, you know what I'm saying? Black people make black people clothes right now. So it's not too much to just readjust and, like, invert or obvert things a little bit, just twist it up like a Rubik's Cube, and you can get to where you need to be. I'm gonna pass the mic.
Appreciate that, RBG. Juana, you get the last word, I guess.
Yeah, no worries. So for me, I would suggest slowing the discussion down a little bit. Slowing it down a little bit. and have the brothers evaluate the world in a very simple way and look at what we talking about here. So if I am living in a state that is isolated, where I produce everything, I don't necessarily need to work with the outside world for anything. I can govern my people and feed my people within that state, within that sphere. Then I can make up the rules that I wish. I can set it. I could create whatever time, the meaning of what time means. I could set. I could move from the Gregorian calendar to whatever calendar I want. See, the president of North Korea, he could have his time set at King Kim Jong Il's time because his where he is very isolated, very isolated. However, if he uh, um, if he gets food, if he gets supplies, if he gets products from the outside world to come in to sustain whatever economy or society that is running, then he has to work with some level of the global uniformity. And many of the world, much of the world, not everyone, but much of the world follows the Gregorian calendar. So you have to work under the system that you're currently governing in. And it's good to dream, and it's good to speculate, and it's good to turn the world on its head and say, well, we shouldn't look at it like we should look at it like this. But you live in a situation where you have to live with the rest of the world. Why? Because you are interdependent with other people assisting and helping you. You're not isolated from everyone else. So since you're not isolated from everyone else, there has to be a degree of uniformity. Why? Because you're signing contracts to say, I would like these products to arrive on this specific time and date. And if I'm in China or if I'm in England, I would know that I have to have my ship brought to the shores or the ports of your society on this specific date and time. And if you telling me that that time is based on whatever your time perspective is or whatever, it doesn't work like that in the world. They gonna someone gonna reference the contract and say, okay, this is the time, this is the date, here is how it is. We want to sign off on this contract, and I will have your products here for this specific date and time. That requires a degree of uniformity, and the people who have made it that way had the power to do that. Since we are not there yet, we have to work within the world that we've been existing in until we have galvanized enough power to be able to change how we introduce time systems. And like even if we move away from the Gregorian calendar, and let's say we embrace like in Ethiopia, they have a different calendar going. They have a different kind of time calendar going. When they deal with the outside world, though, they still understand that they have to deal with a level of global uniformity. Global uniformity, even though even though within that society they have their own language, their perspective is different. You have to remember, you have to work along with the rest of the world because you're not living in an isolated society. You're living in an interdependent society. So you depend on other people to come in to assist, feed, and provide for your people. And until you are completely free to operate independently and in of yourself, then what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? You know, I would love the world to be governed in a completely black perspective. But that's really and truly in a real conversation, the world was never completely governed by one group of people or another because even even though the Western world follows the Gregorian calendar, the Chinese follow in another kind of calendar, and their perspective is a little bit different. But when they deal with each other on an interdependent level, then you have to you have to have a degree of uniformity in the world. And I just want to for the brothers and sisters to be mindful of that. You're not operating independently and of yourself. You have to exist within the rest of the big global world too, even if you have power. So I would just to tell the brothers to be mindful of that. But I'll leave it there.
Wait, Bono, before you go though, I think Trigger Happy asked an excellent question because it's a question I was thinking to ask you. He says, why is the assumption that what is being built will be isolated if it can be understood that Ethiopia operates within their concept of an outside concept. Why do we have this immediate assumption? So he goes on to say he's curious. He says, I'm curious to know if the presenter in the video made an isolated argument as well as everyone else here. No, he didn't. I think our African brother in the video is breaking it down for those who don't know that we are operating on a timeline that doesn't parallel who we are. And we might not be in that place yet to dictate to the world how the timeline will go, but I think we should be in a place where we can discuss the idea of when we have our shit together, how are we going to do it? What are we going to do within ourselves, and what will we do within communications with the larger world? I think that's what we should get from this. Go ahead, Juan.
Yes. So my only the issue becomes now, because when he talks about from an African perspective, following the seasons and things of that nature, in regards to time, now how do you couple that with a technological world that we currently exist in? The technological world is a little bit different. I'm not saying it's against, but it's different from operating under the seasonal governances, or following the moon and things of that nature. And even within this video himself, there is some, I'm gonna say it's contradictory, but he has a watch on his hand. So he understands the importance of time within 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. That's not being restricted from an African perspective, because if you're saying the African perspective is following the seasonal things like that, but you have something on your arm called a watch, and the watches go working from another time reference, completely different time reference from an African time reference. So I would just want him to show me how living from that perspective and what he was suggesting is going to be able to follow fluid in a technological age, or even worse still, information and a technological age, going back and referencing how we would govern the world based on the season and the moon and the sun and all these other kinds of things. I don't know. I just feel like there's gonna be major contradictions that's gonna happen. So someone gonna have to submit to someone else, even in that paradigm. Because I personally believe that if you're living in a global world, you have to be able to make your society fluid with the rest of everyone else. So I'm asking, show me how that I would be, how would that be possible if your governance is seasonal, when the crops grow, when the moon rises, when these kinds of things. I just really would like to know how is that going to be possible, and break it down for me in a very simple way, and I would yield to that. But I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think that's all a part of the vision of it. I think we don't have to have the answer right now as the question's being asked, but we should be thinking about some things. I think that's all to it. I don't think anyone is saying that, like D Webb said from the Hosh Valley podcast. I don't think anyone is saying, let's change the time that we operate on, so that when Monday morning 9 o'clock comes, you're not your job. I don't think anyone is suggesting that, but I think we do need to be a people that are thinking about how we gonna run things when is our turn. When
Well,
we
Coco,
get
when
there,
when
how we
sorry,
run things.
when he
Yeah, go
mentions
ahead.
the calendar, mentions the calendar, that is referencing time. The calendar is addressing months, periods of time. So it's like, okay, are you when you say like, are you just want to change the name of it but still keep the 12 months, or are we going to change the meaning of what a year is? What a year is? Will a year from an African perspective now be 13 months or 14 months? Even so, we gonna get away from the Gregorian calendar, and we gonna just have an African calendar with African names. But what will the meaning of a month be? Is that we see? So that's what I'm asking. Will it be 30 days, or will it be would an African month be 45 days now? That's what I'm asking. So
That's what we
since
have.
we're going,
That's what we have to work out. That's what we have to work out. But one of the fundamental things that Afro Native World and them is putting forward is the idea that you begin anew, dead set in the middle of winter. When if we look at the world, we look at nature. We are people who come from nature, right? Come from being one with nature. Like rebirth happens like in the spring, right? Renewal happens in the spring. So I think that's really the fundamental thing. So under this white man's time, we're doing things out of whack, right? We're not one with nature anymore, right? I think that's really the fundamental thing. And so after that, after you tackle that, then if you have the power to do it, when we have the power to do it, then you decide how things will run. Will we run on like why do we have to run on a 7-day work week? Because this white boy decided that? Why is it that I think I saw only talking to someone about this somewhat earlier. Like why would we still have like a 5 days of work and 2 days of a weekend? I mean, come on. That's what this man came up with. Why do we do it? We talked about it a long time ago. Why is our school day 9 to 3 in countries where we have the power to determine what works best for our people?
Yeah, just a piggy on that. Even the Europeans. my fault. But no, I was just saying, even Europeans don't do that. For you, like they have like different weeks and all that kind of stuff. My fault.
No, I was just joking. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so I mean that's the thing. So only added another layer of text to it too. Like even they don't follow the same. So why are we doing it? Why are we following and why are we dead set to continue following what this man laid down? You know, that's the issue that I have. Azuli's out there in the chat carrying on. Once again, Anthony McPhail is out there. Peace, Anthony. He says the Igbo calendar starts in spring. You know, there's a lot of comments out here. I don't know if I could catch them all here. So make sure you guys who listen to the playback check out the comment section. Good stuff. It's just kind of I can't get to all of it right now. Is there any last thoughts on this prompt here?
Yes.
If not,
yes. There's a last thought. And if you go in some places of business, right, you will see 4 clocks. You will see a time what gives you a time for London. You will see a time what gives you a time for the United States. You will see a time that gives you a time for China. Okay, so the brother says that the Igbo clock starts in spring. I would really like for some Igbo person to come up with a time in reference to how they relate to it. So you could, make a watch out of it. You know what I mean? So we can purchase it, so we could know, okay, so now this is the Igbo year this is the first of the year for Igbo's people. So I would know from an Igbo perspective, this is our year. We need to reflect on the fact that this is the first of the year, why this time of year is important, and how we should proceed from this particular point in time. Because the Chinese may have a watch where they have the Chinese time, the year of the rat, the year of the whatever. I would like for the Igbo or some African person to come up with a time frame of reference and why that would be important to people from that particular time and culture. You know, I would like to see something like, I don't know. I'll stop there.
I appreciate that, Buana. If anyone's out there who can do what Buana just asked, by all means come up. We'll create a follow-up post and we'll discuss it. Should be topic number 4 tonight. I want to thank everyone who's here, by the way. All of you in the chat, all of you who came up on the panel tonight. Once again, we didn't get any women so far to come up. Ladies, the link is there. I don't stop you from coming up. I think everyone is cordial when women come on the panel. So it's up to y'all now to take the invite and come on up.